You're muted, Teresa.
Perfect. I said good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. We're so happy you're here with us. We have a treat for you today, two really exciting things, but we're going to save the best for last. So, first of all, we have a raffle going on. So, if you would like to join, please comment at any time in any of our platforms. We are broadcasting on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're all over the place. So, comment anywhere and you will be entered into a raffle. And if you're on Facebook, you might have to allow yourself to show your name. And I think Ricardo is going to share that link with us here. And if not, I'm going to jump on and give the link on Facebook in a moment. But now we're ready for the best part. So we're going to introduce ourselves and we're going to save the best for last and introduce our guest speaker today. My name is Teresa Castro.
And I am Ricardo Recinos.
And we are Tectoses from Hacienda La Puente Unified. And we have the wonderful, amazing, talented Araceli Garcia. Welcome. And thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be on this. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in on this topic that I could talk all day. So you're going to have to remind me of the times here. So today, hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and talk about how to engage students using something that I love, I'm so passionate about, and that is design-based learning. And I'm going to first begin with a little bit of the objective and what's our goal. So here it is. Basically, this is just a tip of the iceberg. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what is this method called design-based learning. So our purpose today, as you can see here, is I'll talk a little bit of what is DBL versus some traditional project-based. They're both great if you use project-based. I'm just going to show you another type of method that you can use. I'm also going to talk a lot about how do you build rapport with your students. And we've often heard about the 4 C's in Common Core, but of course we like to add the 5th C, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then I'm going to show you what you can do as a design challenge. Again, just right away, what you can do tomorrow if you needed something to do. And I'm going to keep reminding everyone that this is a methodology. It's not a program. It's not a binder. It's not something that you replace, you throw away everything you have. No, this is just things that you want to adapt to your own class, your own grade level. What our non-purpose is going to be is you don't need to know everything. You might be even a bit confused, and that's okay. In fact, Teresa and Ricardo are going to be like my students. They're a little nervous. I know they are, because I'm going to have them do some things. And you don't have to purchase anything. That's the great thing about DBL. So you don't have to go out and get materials, and you don't have to throw away your curriculum, and you don't have to be limited. You could run with this. And really, that's what we want you to do. So go ahead. All right. So I always like to tell my story a little bit of why I even came to DBL and how I came about it. So that you understand why I'm so passionate about it. So I am a second language learner. I'm an English language learner. I say that, I still am a second language learner. And I think all of us are. Language constantly is changing. And I'm so proud of being from Hacienda La Puente. I went to Baldwin Academy, went to Grandview, went to Workman, had amazing teachers. And then now I have the privilege of being back in the classroom at Workman, where my teachers motivated me. I've been doing this for, 25 years. And Ricardo and I go way back to when I taught at Wilson. I ended up going to UC San Diego, got my degree. And then I encountered my master's program. So I did get my master's program with an emphasis in DBL. I also have taught different levels. So that just so that you know my background in teaching, I've taught 1st grade, 4th grade, as you can see there, AP, ELD. I even taught a little bit of migrant ed and got to work with parents. I currently teach AVID, English 3, English 4. And I use my DBL methodology with all groups. Doesn't matter what level. They all get to benefit from this. I also serve as a facilitator and an instructor for the program at Pasadena Art Center, and now it's taken over by UCLA Center X, which I'll talk more about if you want to get some more information. And I got a really great opportunity to go speak in New York, part of the AP Forum, where I also talked about design-based learning and how to close the achievement gap with our students and build that literacy. Go ahead. And Ricardo's helping me out with the technology so I can do my thing. So I just wanted to show the demographics for, whoever's out there. Of course, design-based learning benefits all of our students. but especially our students who have come from a home where English is not the predominant language. I was that student. And so I couldn't go home and practice my academic English. I practiced my academic Spanish language, right? And that it was still benefit. As you can see here, we also have a lot of our students who have special needs. And I think many of our students are not identified and can benefit from hands-on activities to get them to talk, and listen and participate. Okay, so you can see there a little bit of that breakdown. Go ahead. All right, so the why. So as a teacher, I actually started teaching first grade, fourth grade, and then I went to high school. And one of the things I noticed is that my students kind of look like this. And I've always been very interactive with my students. I like them to act out scenes and do project stuff, but it always seemed at the end of the unit. So they were almost like dragging through the units and hoping to get to that final product, right? Or project. So this is what I often would see. And I often saw this, especially with my boys. You know, a lot of my boys, I felt like I couldn't reach them. And so I started to figure out, okay, what can I do? Go in the next slide. So one day I have three stepsons, and I have three kids, three of my own, and they would all play together. And one thing I realized, I walked out into my living room, my college son, my high school kid, my middle school kid, and my daughter, who was in elementary, were all playing a video game. And they were just so intrigued. Do you both know? Right? I'm sure you're familiar with Minecraft. And my kids have always loved building things and building, you know, a fort outside, and how much they love that. And so I felt, you know, there's something here. There's something about building, right? A lot of times kids do this, you know, we're doing this at the elementary level, but I don't know, Ricardo, if you remember also, like in high school, it seems like, no, it's all just book, right? Get to work and it's all seriousness and we can't, and it shouldn't be that way. It's probably the age that needs more of that fun, making education accessible to our students. So that's why I investigated and found design-based learning, because kids got to build. And so then I wanted to bring it into my classroom. Okay, next slide. All right, so what is DBL? So the specific DBL that I want to talk about today is called the Doreen Nelson method of DBL. So there's many types out there. And the awesome thing is Doreen Nelson, she's one of my greatest mentors. She just published a book, so you can read more about it if you're interested. I'll talk about that at the end. She came up with this 6.5 step approach. And so, you know, you can see here, and I'm going to just walk you through it really quickly. You'll notice that you first start with what you want to teach. Then you identify, okay, I really want them to figure out this problem, and then they build. So as opposed to project-based, where sometimes you go through the unit and at the end you do a project. Now, I used to teach fourth grade. I don't know if they're still doing this, right? It's been a while. But in fourth grade, a lot of students have to build the California missions. Anybody remember that?
Yes.
You remember that? I still don't know if it was the students or the parents, right? So a lot of times.
Comment.
And so, you know, and kids wanted to get a good grade. And so the idea was you study the missions, you maybe even visit a mission, you research it, you go to a store, hopefully you didn't, but some would go to a store, and they would do replication, right? So they would just imitate, they copy, right, and so forth. And so, yeah, they would just kind of give us what we already knew. And so what DBL does is different, is that you don't want them to replicate. You know, we live in a Google search world. If we don't know something, we just look it up, right? We don't let that imagination flow. And so what that happens is our kids are afraid to take a risk. They're afraid to be wrong. And you'll see this in DBL, where a kid will say, well, you know, what should it look like? I don't show them a model. I will give them a criteria list. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. Go to. And it really, even for adults when I've done this, in fact, adults are the worst. They really struggle with, I don't know, I think we got used to getting the little star. and so it breaks that away. So let's keep going. And so this is some images from my own classroom back when, pre-COVID. And so what you'll see here is those 5 C's I'm going to talk about. So with design-based learning, the ultimate goal, one of the goals, is that they end up building a 3D city. So a 3-dimensional city, and teachers do this different ways. I've been working with many districts, many different teachers. I have them work in small groups to build a 3D city. Now, we'll talk about materials, but all of the materials are upcycled materials. So you're not bringing in Legos. You are not bringing in, things from these stores. It's all, straws and paper cups, and that's what they're going to use. And that's what makes this program so great, because it really forces them to think out of that box, right? So here we are, critical thinking. I joke with my students, because I have juniors and seniors, and I would joke with them even if they were freshmen. And I say, one of the biggest problems you're going to encounter is how to open the glue bottle. Because sometimes the glue bottle gets stuck. And if you raise your hand and ask me, Ms. Garcia, my glue bottle won't open, I'm going to walk away. I tell them I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to turn around, right? And I tell them, because I believe in you. I know you can use your critical thinking skills and figure it out, which they always do. Then they laugh. But really, that's what we want them to do. Independent thinkers, right? Go ahead and next slide. The other one, and if we need anything this year, is collaboration and communication. I don't know how it is for other teachers out there, but it is pulling teeth to get them to talk. They got so used to being on mute, so used to disappearing in the classroom. It is scary, truly, that they think they could just be passive learners, and that is not acceptable in my class. So they will talk it out. They do, and in a safe, again, COVID safety protocols, mask is on, distances, but they can still share their ideas. And so that's what what we do with DBL is that even though they might be making their own project, they're standing around talking out what they want to do, or what's not working, or how to open that glue bottle, right? Go ahead. Here, as I mentioned earlier, I had always kind of struggled with engaging the boys, right, with literature. And we know this is a statistic that we see out there. When they made their own city, they can talk on and on about what they have for a justice system and how they get around and their transportation. So here they are looking very proud of what they made. But this is not in isolation. I don't just give them this project, and then move on to my literature. This is in conjunction. So they make their project, they make their design, and then we constantly go back and forth comparing it to whatever I'm teaching. The Giver, Of Mice and Men, 1984, you name it. There's always characters and community in everything we teach. Go ahead. All right. The other great thing is that you can also hit civic engagement or civil dialogue. Again, if there's anything we need in this world, is how to talk to each other and how to listen. So here, the picture that you see here is my ELD class. So my ELD classes, we mixed them all in different languages, different levels. They built their city, right? And this happened a couple years ago. I asked if they were willing to present at open house. They all said yes. So this open house, my students, ELD, were presenting to parents, principals, other teachers. They were so proud of what they had made. And that's what I think DBL does, is give students that voice and their creativity, because who's the expert in what they built? They are. And that's so, so powerful. Go ahead. Okay, and so there they are again. Here's another group. And so the benefits, not only for our English learners, for our special ed students, even for our students who are coming back a little bit with that anxiety, that it's a safe environment. They're working with a small group, and there is no wrong, right? They can always keep modifying and changing. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about a challenge. Ready, Teresa and Ricardo? Yeah, he's trying to think he's just going to do the technology. All right, so this is what I do on day one of my classes, whether it's distance learning, whether it's my AP class, ELD, every single year for the past, I've been doing this for like 10 years now, I start off with this. And again, anybody can use this. It's simple. It's a get to know you activity. So what we're going to do is we need to find out, here's the essential question, what makes us all different and unique? We need to find a new way, never before seen. You'll see that word quite a bit, a way to introduce ourselves. So you get less than 30 seconds. You're going to find an object that is right next to you or something you're wearing. This is what I tell my students. And my students are going to look just like they are right now. What are we doing?
So stressed.
And it has to represent not what you like, but the person that you are. What kind of person are you? Are you outgoing? Do you like, to talk? Do you like technology? My only rule is oftentimes is no technology. In fact, if you go to the next slide, here's that criteria list. Here's this list of the do's and don'ts. So it's never before seen because, it's never been seen as an introduction object. So you can use, and I give them a few examples. You can use a pencil. You can use, a notebook, right? But then you have to give me a sentence that says, I am like, right? And then your object. And for this one, I do give a little scaffolding, right? So there you'll see it needs to be 3D. I don't say it has to fit in your palm. It could be bigger than that. Has to represent who you are as a person. You're going to give short little description. If I was teaching a class, and of course we have a lot of students who are English learners, we want to make sure we honor, their language, and we also want to make sure that they get the support. Go ahead and go to the next slide, and I give them a sentence break. And so for some of my emerging students, I might just have them say, hi, my name is, and I am like, and then they say because, right? And keep it really short. So I might say, and I have one right here, just in case, as my visual.
Cheater.
I always say I'm like a cup of coffee because I have a lot of energy, right? So always kind of has that little caffeine. If I wanted to do more, again, a little bit higher level, I might use a little bit more casual language. Hello, I'm, right? And here comes my reason. I'm like a cup of coffee. Here comes my adjectives. Strong and full of energy, right? Right? Or if I want to have more advanced language, eventually I want my students to get like this, very, very specific. Hello, everyone. I'm Araceli, and I'm a Starbucks caramel macchiato, right? Energetic, sweet, comforting. Once you get to know me, you'll realize you can really warm up, right? And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. All right, so back to you, Teresa, and then Ricardo.
Are we allowed to ask clarifying questions?
Yeah, you can ask some questions.
Are we just finding an object, or are we making something?
Yeah, for this one, you're just finding an object.
I'm sweating.
I could. Well, mine is not an object, but I always go back to technology. So I'm gonna use this one. Okay.
She
I'm
said
like,
no technology.
and I'm not trying to use her sample, but I'm like my name is Ricardo, and I'm like a Chrome browser, full of information. Does that work?
And I'm glad you brought that up because yes, on day one, sometimes my students, they will break a little bit of my rule, and
He's one of those.
Like, all right. I have a rebel in my class. All right.
I got more. I got more. I can do the expanding one.
Let's see.
Go.
Okay, so I'm Ricardo, and I'm like the Chrome browser, lots of tabs and full of information, right? And I can do the bridging one too. So I'm Ricardo, and I'm like a Chrome browser, full of information, lots of tabs, and I never know where the music is coming from.
There you
That's
go.
me.
I heard of that one before. Nice.
Hey.
Mr. Racinos.
Very good.
That was
Very
original.
good.
Never
Very
let
nice.
Ricardo
And moving
go
on.
first.
Yay, applause.
Your turn, Teresa.
Go for it.
Oh my! She said something near me. I'm like debating between so many things. Okay. Okay. Tape.
You can use one of the sentences there. All right.
Okay. Let's see. Hello, my name is Teresa, and I am like Scotch tape because I work behind the scenes and I bring things together.
There it is. There it is. All right. And so this is what I do on day one. Yes, I'm going to do my quick hello. Yes, I'm going to give them my syllabus. But you know what? I have lots of days to go over my syllabus. I have lots of days to go through the 3-ring binders, and this is how I'll pass, right? And I work with juniors and seniors. They've heard this probably all day long, right? In every period. and probably for like 11 years. So I'm going to take a day, the first day, to establish the tone in my class that it is not me, teacher, classroom, it is our classroom. And
Mhm.
all voices are important here. And no, you cannot just, I don't know, and shrug your shoulders. No, and I cannot, like, I don't, I will say, okay, class, Teresa's having a hard time. Teresa, I'm going to give you time to think, pair, share, right? Practice it out. I'm going to go over to Teresa. Teresa, tell me, what do you think, right? And so I'm going to use all different kinds of methods to help my students know that this is what we do in this class that we're going to discuss, because talking it out is going to help you later on with writing, with having that confidence to write something down, to express your opinion. And so on day one, I'm already collecting data. I already know, oh, okay, all right. I got my student who didn't do what I told him, but all right, he's going to do his own thing. All right, I have. All right, go ahead and go to the next slide.
I was gonna say, me as a Spanish teacher, what a great activity. I mean, I'm using the language, and on top of that, I'm
Right.
doing an activity like this. It's so amazing. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
incredible.
And what we do with it, if you go to that next slide, okay, we already did the your turn.
Started sweating again. I was like, hold on.
Another one. And and especially, like I said, I have some students, because of what's going on with the pandemic, they're so just hesitant to maybe talk, and we have that anxiety. And so I find different ways. So I'm going to differentiate. So take a look at this list. I always have them practice it out. Last year, when we were doing distance learning, I might send up to a Zoom, right, into a little breakout room. Go practice what you're going to say over here. Practice what you're going to say on chat with someone. Maybe you need to write it out. If my classroom is very big, maybe I have them do small groups. You're going to do a round robin, and you're going to talk to each other. And then one person from your group is going to share what you all have in common, or the best object that was presented. You can have your AB partners interview each other. Who are you? All right, who are you? And watch your class just come alive, right? I just, again, I have such a hard time with silence because I'm a talker. I like talking, right? And so, I don't want them to think that I'm just going to lecture them and they're just going to sit and take notes. I need them to participate. Again, some programs that I know Ricardo and Teresa have talked about, and that's Pear Deck and Jamboard. I'm still using those. So, I might have them write it all out, and then I post it up, and everybody can see, the answers, and I call on a few. So that's another way. So different ways. Again, you do you, as we always say, and adapt it. All right, well, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So what do I do after that? So I'm not quite done. So this is all my rapport building. I want my students to feel comfortable, to want to come to my class on time, even, and they get a kick, and you'll see it, you'll hear it, right? Like, they'll come in and bring in their friends to show off what they made. It's a beautiful thing to see. So week one, after they've done their object, they introduce their object. Maybe we wrote a poem. I like them to write a "Who Am I" poem. We watch some poetry. We practice. The next thing is we have a class election. So in my class, I am not the person that stands at the front of the class and reads off the lesson objective and the agenda and the homework. I'm not doing that. My students are. So why should the teacher do everything, right? I want my students to build that vocabulary, to build that confidence. So I have a class president, 2 assistant vice presidents. I have class jobs. I have a greeter, right? So again, I have all of these class positions for my students. So it's a student-run classroom. So take a look at this one. So we're going to work on collaboration and civic engagement. My big question, essential question, what does make a good leader? So what I'm going to have my students do, and I believe it's on the next slide there, is I have my students in rows. They're all going to go outside. I usually send them outside or into the classroom. They're going to now form a district. So each row is now a district, and their job is to choose one of their objects. They're all going to persuade each other which object makes the best leader. So let's try it here. Ready? Okay, so I got my coffee, right? You got your Chrome, and you got your tape, right? And I'm just going to give a short little persuasive speech. I'm just going to say, well, I think my coffee would make a great leader because it'll keep everyone awake and keep going, and it's going to just empower everyone. It's just going to energize everyone. So that's why I think coffee should make a good leader. Teresa?
I think Scotch tape would make a great leader because they bring people together and help them to work cohesively.
Look at the vocabulary.
I think my Chrome browser will make a good leader because it has a lot of information. It's going to listen to you, and it's going to provide you with answers.
Very good. So then each row would actually select their leader. They don't know this yet. They don't know what's going to happen next. And what's going to happen next is I get my 6 candidates, and now they're going to run for class president. And sometimes they're in, like the kid who hardly ever talks sometimes gets chosen. Like, oh, destiny has chosen you. And so now, but they have a whole team behind them. And so this kid is now working with all of their row to come up with a campaign. So we spend a day and they're making flyers and posters, vote for Scotch tape, right? Vote for Crow, vote for coffee. And that's what you're going to see in this next part. So then the president gets up and delivers a speech, and they get elected by the class, right? So go ahead and click on that video there. This is my president leading the class.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, guys. So okay. Our learning target is by the end of class, students will review UC prompt number 6.
All right.
I love it.
And I know this is kind of low there, but what I have them do once they get elected is that they have to run the opening routine. They have to come up with a class signal and, get everyone's attention. Sometimes the class leaders, when I have a sub, my class leaders already know what to do. Where's everything at? It is a student-run classroom. And, today, again, if you were to walk into my class in the first few minutes of class, it's my students running it. Let me show you again some of the campaigns. So if you go on that first Padlet there, and you will see some of the things that there it is. Some of the things that my students did last year, even though we were doing, had the pandemic. So I don't know if you can make that video there where it says vote for notebook. Yep.
This one right here?
Yep. And so the students created a TikTok for their campaign. Let's see.
Notebook is full of creative and effective ideas.
Thanks, Daisy. I also believe that a notebook should be our class president because, well, a notebook is just always there for you. Any thoughts you have, you can always write it down on a notebook. Just like anything, a notebook is always there for you. Here you go.
Thanks, Nayeli. I think that the notebook is very adaptable.
Okay, and you can pause it there. So even in distance learning, and you could see here the Padlet and all the different campaigns that they had. They could do flyers, they could do videos. I even had this year a kid do a rap song, just like that, right? He came up with it, wrote up the lyrics. So notice again, we're valuing the different talents that our students have.
Mm-hmm.
So many times our kids are just, beaten down because they didn't do well on that test. Oh, there's that essay score again. Right? Like, why would any adult go anywhere where they're going to be constantly told you're doing it wrong? You're doing it wrong. Nobody likes that feeling. And so with DBL, there's always a place for the student to shine. And so that's what you see here. So that was a campaign. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the class jobs. Yep. So my students, after they elect classes, they get to do a job application. And so they get to choose jobs. Again, their object is applying for a job. So I still use that object. Object, what does it want to do in life? So as you see here, some of my students did class jobs like how to survive English. And if you scroll through some of these, and I think the period 5 or 6, if you scroll through those, they did videos on stress management. Keep going down. They did how to get into college. So my students presented this to the class. They took on, again, little assignments there. let's go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint. And I think there's also another slide that you'll see, and that's the class jobs. And this is, yeah.
You want me to go to that one? You want me to go to that one? Sure, sorry.
It's
Right
okay.
here.
And that one. And this is from one of our great teachers who was doing some DBL, and that's from Miss Jenny Lebrun. And she created this slide for her class. And go ahead and go to the next one. And keep going, keep going. And here are her class jobs. And I also have a class DJ and talk about building rapport with my students. Whenever we have some project based or we have some, group work, I, class DJ, go up to my computer, go put on the playlist. And it just changes. It just changes things in my classes, right? My students, and I can connect with them. What, you're listening to Kendrick Lamar? I love Kendrick Lamar, right? And I can build that rapport. So again, this is just a little offshoot of what I do with the intro object. So I notice how I stay a little while because I'm really building that social contract. I'm really building that how do we get along? What is this class going to be about? So let me go ahead and head back into the PowerPoint. And now we're going to talk about, all right, so they chose their intro object. I got to know them a little bit, chose some class leaders. What do I do as far as guided lessons? I'm just going to read some of these off. If I'm a literature teacher, English teacher, I might have them do some poetry based on their object. I love to teach Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. What is an extended metaphor? Now I could teach metaphors. If you're teaching seniors, they have to write personal statements. They can write a narrative. Again, just kind of drawing out who they are. If you're in a different course, if you're in a science course, right, you're teaching similarities about heredity, right, about DNA, about how, where people live. Again, if you're doing math, measurements and space and maybe even geometric figures and so forth. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, but the real, project comes with the building. So first I established, okay, we're going to use abstract thought, but now you're actually going to do some hands-on. And so that's going to be this next challenge. So the next challenge is to think first, what is the skill or the standard? So if I'm teaching English, maybe I want them to learn about empathy and how do characters get along with other characters and characterization. Maybe that's my big concept. So I'm going to start with that question. How do we develop a character? Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so, ready? Teresa and Ricardo.
Oh, there's another one.
Oh, you thought that was it?
I thought this was hypothetical.
All right. So this is where the real DBL starts. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating a creature, also known as an avatar. Some teachers call it an avatar. Some teachers call it a creature that represents who you are. So I tell them this story, and this story goes all year long. You were an object. Here's your little object. Remember your object? Yeah, it was a coffee cup, right? All right. Your object is going to transform into another body. You can modify your coffee cup, right? And you can actually make a little small coffee cup and modify it to make it a creature, or you can transform completely into a new body. The trick is, though, you can only do what I have on my criteria list, and you can only use, I call it happy trash still. Some teachers have called it upcycled materials.
Happy trash.
I still call it happy trash, right? Go ahead and go to the next slide. And here's my criteria. Oh, here's some materials that you can use. And I'm going to kind of do some visuals here. So you go around the house, and this is where I say you don't need to buy anything. You can get your students to bring in things, right? And it's the strangest homework they'll probably ever get because it needs to be clean, right? So you can bring in things like toilet paper rolls, right? Maybe they have like straws. They can use, cups, all kinds. Maybe a foil paper works great. Maybe even they have a gift bag of some sort. Anything that they can cut. So any kind of cuttable material, even cloth, cotton. And so you'll see this list. I give this list to my students and say, bring some stuff, right? And so pretty soon I start stocking up. And it's so funny because I have teachers who come in with coffee, the little trays. Do you need this? I'm like, yeah, bring it. So I become that teacher. All right. You will need just at the beginning of the year, you could order it there from your, school and the department, is your scissors, your tape, and glue. Most classes would already have that. So you definitely want to have, your scissors and so forth. All right. So as you can see here, things that we don't want. We don't want toys. We don't want Legos. We don't want cut out pictures of anything. They have to make everything. Okay. Now go to the next slide. All right. And so here's the criteria list again. And I go through this, step by step. You're going to create a creature. It needs to somehow represent you symbolically. It needs to be 3D. So if you want eyes, you can't just draw them in. I want you to make little eyes. Got it? Okay. I know they're looking at it.
Oh my God.
How long is this session?
Like, we still have some time.
I need an hour.
Right. And I give them a time limit. They're not going to go on and on. Right. So some kids want to make it perfect. They want to take it home. No. Here's my criteria. Right. And so symbolic colors and shapes. And I also tell them it needs to fit on their hand. So I say about 3 inches, 5 inches, no bigger than that. I also tell them it has to have multiple parts, or else they'll just crumble paper and say, okay, I'm done. Which would be fine, because ultimately it's not what they make. It's the language that comes out. What I want them to be able to do is explain, describe, persuade, clarify. So this creature just becomes a textbook to bring out information. And so you'll see there, it needs to have a way to move, a way to see, a way to hear, right? And then they're going to give a short presentation. I always tell them that Monsters, Inc. is making a new movie, and that they're going to create a creature, right, for Monsters, Inc., the next movie, right? All right. So here we go. I'm going to have Teresa, Ricardo, whatever you have, even if it's just an object there. If you have some happy trash, you might not even have tape and glue. So I might do something. So if you have something there, you can try to find something there. That
Can I run around my house? Like,
no, I mean, you could, but we don't have too much time. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I can just do this. All right, there's the body. Let's see what else I have.
I like this red cup team we got going on here.
I didn't come prepared. This is so unfair.
Oh, wait, I got some. And I have them just have fun with this, right? So they already brought in some materials, and they're going to do a little bit of what Teresa's doing here. I like that she's thinking out loud, where they just look at me and like, what? Like, what are we doing? And so they ask their partners, they stare at the stuff, right? Sometimes they just look at what they have in front and like, I don't know what I'm making. All right, so I'm going to put like that.
You're really good at this, Araceli. I feel like you've gotten a lot of practice.
Only been doing it. Right? And we'll see if they can come out. We'll give them a little bit of time to work on that while I talk a little bit more. So again, all different grade levels. I've done this again with adults, hardest group, with kids, with younger elementary. This can be used again in all different courses, not just in English. This is not, remember, literacy needs to be a cross-curricular. It should not just be English department, right? It needs to be in all classes. They are developing their speaking skills, their persuasive skills, their argumentative skills. So I'll just show what I stole some from my class from earlier today. And here's what this kid came up with. Even put little glasses on. So here's a little glasses. And they have little forks. And so then they would present, like, how does it move around, right? They have to be able to explain. And I tell them, no magic. They can't say something's invisible, right? And they're going to use just different parts. What kind of person are they? So then they start asking, okay, what kind of person am I? What kind of personality do I have? Am I an outgoing person? And so take a look at this one, Teresa. So they use like a little, right? So there they have their forks. They have a little cup here. They even have like a little tail. And so it's amazing how attached they get to their little creatures. Then, they want to give it a name. They bring in, I tell you, their friends at lunchtime. This is high school, to show off what they've done. Something about the power of making something that's your own. I mean, I get it. We can go to the book, read about a character, give them the chart. All right, you're going to write out, what's the characteristics? Is it a protagonist? I'm going to still do those things. But why not do it with something they made? right? Okay, is your creature an antagonist or a protagonist? Why, right? Where does your creature live? Do they have a certain environment that's best for them? Do they have any enemies, right? What's their weakness? I can have them go on and on. If I was teaching, again, a history class, where did they come from? Did they migrate from anywhere? Who are its ancestors? If I was teaching a science class, what's their makeup composition, right? Again, do they have any diseases? Again, if I was teaching math, all right, what are the dimensions? So I can adapt this. And again, it takes them out of the textbook for a little bit and makes them create something. And now they're more engaged and more connected to it. All right, I know they're busy building here, but I'm going to have Ricardo go to the next slide. And so here's what another teacher has done. You can actually assign points once they present. So I don't grade them on what they made. So I tell them constantly, this is not a art class. I'm not teaching design. I'm teaching you how to just open up your thinking and how to express yourself verbally and then in written. And then we're going to compare it to what we read. But as you can see here, this teacher went ahead and gave points just as a rubric, as a little like, okay, when I present to my partner, did I do these things? A little checklist. And I'm going to have Ricardo go ahead and go to the next one. All right. And so we're building right now. Go ahead and go next. All right. And so what I have developed here I presented this workshop for other teachers. Like I said, I present for UCLA. I created a choice board for teachers so that you can kind of decide. You don't have to go in this, pathway. This is kind of what I do, but you can pick and choose what lessons you want to give. So for example, I start first with the challenge. The kids are going to create a creature. Then my step 2 is I'm going to give them a list of vocabulary because their creature needs a name. But I don't want them to just come up with any name. They have to come up with an academic tone word. So instead of saying, the creature's name is Lucy, it might be Luscious Lucy, right? It might be, so they have, all of a sudden they're looking up words that they never heard before. So vocabulary instruction becomes organic rather than here's a list. Teresa, do you remember how they used to, how do we used to do vocabulary? I remember, here's a list. What was it? You would take a test at the end of the week.
Say it 20 times, write it a million times.
Right? And I remember because I taught, right? And for a long time, it might still be the way some people do it. And then, right, what we're showing them, though, is it doesn't stay most of the time because it's not connected to anything. But once I connect what I made to some vocabulary, now it stays with me, right? Something about the physical touch. Again, I have it differentiated for my ELD students. So I have questions for them. And so in a moment, we're going to watch little Flipgrid videos. I'm just going to walk you through this one. I have this awesome poem that I like to show, and that is the Who Am I poem. And again, we could send you the links, Ricardo, if, people have questions, this is available, right? The Who Am I poem, it's powerful spoken word. And then my students imitate this through their, with their object. There's a short film called Alike that talks about being different. And so let's go ahead and I think, Ricardo, let's watch the Flipgrid videos there. The first one was Danny, I think.
Danny? Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Let me go back. Let me see if I can open it.
And what you'll see here is my students, again, this one was when the pandemic had hit. And I offered some DBL workshops for family and friends. And so this is one of my niece there. I think I should.
It's not letting
you know what? Sorry. Go to the link. Click down where it says link. Go back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Right here.
There it is. And then it'll be a hyperlink.
Got it. Danny, right?
Yeah. And so this is my little niece who took on the project and did a little video. Let's see the audio.
Can I make it louder?
I created. Her name is Lucinda, and she.
Or you could put the I don't know if the closed captioning. There it is.
There it is. Thing that I love string cheese as her hair. I love peanut butter. That's the thickness. Her arms are made out of toothpicks. I love red apples, especially green and yellow. I love chips. These are Funyuns.
All right, and we can pause right there. So again, notice, all the language, and she's just kind of going on and on. Of course, I would tell my students, don't use food, because in my class, you're going to keep your project there in the class. I don't want little rotten apples laying around. They'll start crawling away possibly. So there's another Flipgrid video. This is my high school student, and that's going to be the sample one. And again, if you go to the, yeah. And
Hello, my name is Rosie Mendez, and I am a junior at Workman High School. I have 3 siblings, and their names are Justin, Roxanne, and Raphael. I am the youngest. My mom's name is Maria, and my dad's name is Raphael. I also have quite a lot of pets.
all right, I'm going to pause it there. Right. So she does go on. She gave a little biography first about her life, and then she goes into her object. But I just kind of wanted to show you what you can do with Flipgrid, what they can do in person. And so after, I get them to start presenting. Who are you, right? I have my students fill out an interview sheet. They are going to interview other students. They're going to ask questions. So, how does it move around, and where does it like to do for fun? And so it's kind of funny because kids try to do a I gotcha kind of question, which, I tell them not to, but they always seem to want to. So it's kind of interesting that way. Okay, let me check in on these students here, though. Teresa and Ricardo, you have anything yet?
Well, I was running the tech a second ago, so
Probably she forgot about it.
I do. This is my. I happen to have a lot of red cups around my house. I'm not sure why, but this is it. And I actually didn't give him kind of a head because I wanted him to be open-minded like I am, but also having a growth mindset to be able to fill that in and with lots of information. I also gave him like very, very long arms because I think I'm always willing to help, but I'm also always willing to ask for help. One hand for that and one hand for that, I guess. And if you notice, I actually cover his eyes because I don't like to judge people with my eyes. And I wanted to make sure that was, evident
that
right there.
Is very nice. Very good.
We should never let him go first. Never. Never. Is there another activity? I'm just kidding.
We value everyone.
Thank you. Well,
okay, Teresa, what do you got?
This is mine. And I'll be honest with you, I just really like sparkly things. And so its eyes and mouth are made out of sparkly beads because I think this person likes to shine, but also I think its strength is making other people shine. I think so. Everything is kind of plain, and then its arms are very. I very specifically chose these materials for the arms because these are beautiful pens, but they're erasable as well. So the whole Control Z, right? We can always adjust, redo, undo. That's fine. And the hair, I'm not sure why I felt like I needed to have hair. I felt a little bit pressured. And then mine actually opens up to all these beautiful colors.
Overachiever.
Because she might seem really simple, but she's full of beautiful glittery sparkliness, which most of our students are as well. Lots
Very good. There you go.
That looks like Caitlin's project. You have that already there.
I'm sure Teresa did all of that right there on the spot. This is again, and I always say like, oh my goodness, I laugh all day long. I have so much fun with my students. I'm walking around. They're sharing, why did you do that? And tell me a little bit more. And this is where I'm building that rapport. They're working on their literacy skills. They're working on their creativity, collaboration, right? Again, problem solving, all of those things that we want them to do. And then I get to do they're going to now read about Lenny and George in Of Mice and Men. They're going to read about, Esperanza in House on Mango Street and be able to compare how's your creature similar to these characters here. And now I have this thing that I know well. I'm the expert here. And it doesn't feel so scary to go into that book that I have to read. And that's really what I want my students to feel is that this is a safe environment for them to explore. That, I don't know how it gets along. It's okay. Maybe you'll come up with it a little bit later, right? Or I'm struggling. And we want them to be okay with the struggle. and to maybe go back. In fact, that 6.5 steps, it's not I did the object and now I'm going to just take it home, or now I'm going to throw it away. No, we're going to come back to it, because now I'm going to teach you something and you're going to go back and modify. Because, for example, in Of Mice and Men, one of the challenges I gave my students is, how do we deal with discrimination? And in your, later on, they make a little city. And one of my groups had said, oh, at the beginning, we're just going to paint everyone purple. That way we don't have any racism, right? After they read Of Mice and Men and we went back and revised, they realized we don't want everyone the same. We want to value everyone's differences. And so they went back and revised. And that's what I want them to do. And I was like, oh, they got it. Right? And it's they come upon that information rather than me standing at the front lecturing them, and they're kind of maybe hopefully learning and listening. And so I've been doing, like I said, DBL for a long time. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And so, again, I go into my guided lessons. And my standards are there. I'm hitting all of the units. It might take me a day for them to do the DBL. At the beginning, it takes them a little bit longer as they go through the rules, right? So my pacing calendar, I might have to sacrifice a day or two, but it's so worth it. So worth it for a day or two of building, and look at everything I'm achieving with it. The rapport, the literacy, the connections, right? The camaraderie. Go ahead and go to the next one. And so what I have here, and I know it's almost time, this is my pathway. So I go from intro object that we did, then they do the creature, and I don't stop there. We do this all year long. And when I was in the master's program, and that's the great thing about working with other teachers who do this, is we pushed each other to keep doing more challenges, or else sometimes we want to go back to what we used to do. And so here, the next thing would be building a shelter and then building that 3D city. And, in the future, hopefully we do more of these. I would love to, right? And again, we do this with UCLA Center X. If people are interested, there's more programs there. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so, just to emphasize, this is the steps. You go through essential question. You go through what is it that your unit is covering. Go ahead and go to the next. And these are just some samples of the Common Core standards. I'm not going to read them all, but you can kind of see how, some of these projects, these challenges can connect to your standards. Writing some informative text, right? Maybe planning and delivering an explanatory presentation. Creating an engaging audio recording of a story, maybe that narrative of your creature. Go ahead and go to the next. In history, if you were teaching in first grade, understand the rulemaking process in a direct democracy. Vote on rules. So when we did the elections earlier, that's what my students are dealing, right? If you're doing 8th grade, maybe some, right, geography, great rivers and so forth, settlements, when they do their city, they have to come up with, where are we going to place everything? Who's going to live here, right? Who's going to live over there? So you can go ahead and go to the next one. If you're doing science, right, you have to construct explanations. So when you're doing DBL, that's what you're explaining. Why did you choose this? Engaging in argument and evidence. All of these things can be you can hit in your DBL challenges. And next, and this is your math standards. Again, geometric shapes, density, area, even creating word problems with your creatures. I've even seen this exponential growth. If you have a city, well, if it's growing, how fast will it grow in a certain amount of time? And so this can be applied. And we have a teacher who's awesome, another consultant who works at Walnut High School, who had a whole design program with 3 other teachers, history, English, and math. And so students do this over and over. And we'll talk more about it, again, if you continue with some of these challenges. Go ahead. Okay, and I know we're almost out of time here. I'll just show a little clip of this longer video that I have. And just so you can see inside the classroom of what my classroom might look like. And we'll see there. And I don't know if the volume is kind of low. And if you go to 320.
My name is Araceli Garcia, and I have been teaching for almost 20 years. And about 5 years ago, I came across a...
There, yeah.
We use a very specific 6.5-step pathway where the teacher first begins with asking, What standards do I want my students to reach? What skills or what themes am I covering in this unit? So we backwards plan from that. So you start with this big concept, and then the teacher comes up with some kind of a design challenge for the students. From there, you set them up in various teams, and students have to physically make three-dimensional objects that follow very strict criteria list. You tell them we're going to be building a never before seen shelter, or maybe they're making a city. And so students are now working with each other and developing their 5 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, and very important, civil discourse. They need to learn how to get along and how to solve problems in a group setting.
This could either be gateways, so the submerged roads, or this could be like row houses. Oh, houses? I think it should be houses. Really? I think so that's a residential. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to have a residential section along.
Okay, we can go. All righty. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning, there is more information. If you go on the UCLA Center X website and type in DBL at UCLA Center X, you'll find out lots of resources. And we also have an little workshop, a 3-day workshop coming up. And it's actually a series, so it's not 3 days in a row. It's in November, December, as you can see, in January. And it could be online. So you can go ahead, and there's a link there if you're interested in getting more information. There's even opportunities. When I got started, again, I was just a student. I was taking the master's course. I was in a cohort. And because, again, I just ran with this, made it my own. I got hired as a consultant. I know right now that they're looking for more teachers who want to get certificates in this and become trainers themselves at their own schools, their own districts. So, we're branching out. We are working right now with Southgate School District. We also work with San Gabriel District, and we worked with Pasadena District. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And, one of my goals is to actually do a Zoom with other teachers in other areas of Los Angeles, maybe even go a little bit further than that and interact, take a look at those faces, right? Imagine having our students, they created a city and talk to some of the kids who are in elementary or other places in the world. What did you create? What would make a better world, right? And so I thank you. I think I covered everything. I don't know if there's any questions or if you all have questions here, but that's pretty much it. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. I mean, our hearts are so full, and we learned so much. And I know there's a lot of questions, but I'm not going to bombard you with them because I know you're going to be back. Because we know you're definitely going to come join us again, and we're going to pick your brain. And this session has just been also a great segue for our next series that is going to be starting next week, which is the inclusive classroom. And I know we're going to bring you in with that too. So thank you so much, Ricardo. I'm sure you want to say something too, but I'm overwhelmed. I'm so happy.
No, that was incredible, and hopefully, like Teresa said, you're going to be back with us, and we'll create a series out of this, definitely.
Yay.
Yes. So thank you so much. And, we got a lot of interaction here. So, Ricardo, if you want to do the raffle now or later, I'm not sure.
Yeah, hopefully we did it right. Let's see if we did it right. Let's try it. Let's see if we get something out of this. And let's see. It might be...
Oh, wait, I'm not in it.
Billy. It can be Billy. All the things. So we'll figure out who All the Things is on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay.
And we'll get a prize to you. Thank you so much.
This is your prize. Here it is. Here it is.
Can't give away your child.
We had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your energy. You are all amazing.
We'll see you all next week. Bye. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.